recorded 169 COVID-19 cases, one of the lowest in the world. However, we cannot be oblivious to the statistics outside in our borders. In neighboring Trinidad and Tobago, more than 37,600 cases have been recorded. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 2,280. St. Lucia, more than 5,500. And over in Barbados, more than 4,300. My friends, sisters, and brothers all, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to unleash havoc around the world, with emerging strains like Delta proven to be far more contagious. Thousands are still dying daily. Thousands more are hospitalized, many fighting for their lives, some even wishing they had done something differently or sooner. I have seen some heart-wrenching moments where persons who are refusing to be vaccinated while on their deathbed were pleading with family and friends not to subject themselves to the same fate. Thankful is so, sisters and brothers, the availability of various COVID-19 vaccines has helped to save countless lives around the world. The scientists readily admit that the vaccines will not prevent you from contracting or spreading the disease. But if you do contract the virus, the vaccine will reduce the likelihood of you having severe symptoms requiring hospitalization and even dying. The science is not perfect, but if you are to consider probabilities, your chances of surviving COVID-19 as a vaccinated person are much higher than if you are not, particularly if you have underlying medical conditions. In the United States, for example, 99.5% of those dying now from COVID-19 are people who are unvaccinated. These statistics show that we have a chance to control or change what is happening. My friends, let us choose wisely. Let us protect ourselves, protect our families, protect those whom we serve, protect those with whom we interact, and protect our country. Get vaccinated today is my watchword. It is in fact your best shot. I have done it. My 98-year-old mother has received her 2 doses, and thousands of other Grenadians have been fully vaccinated. I have repeatedly encouraged all who are eligible to get vaccinated to do so. If not for yourselves, but for those around you who are more vulnerable. My friends, I must admit that I'm concerned about the level of uptake here in our country, Grenada. It is quite difficult to understand the level of vaccine hesitancy we are seeing today. To date, only 21,371 persons have received their first dose of AstraZeneca, and of that number, only 16,075 persons are fully vaccinated. I cannot underscore enough the importance of achieving a much higher level of vaccination that will allow us to develop the level of herd immunity that will further reduce the potential risk we all face. I would not want to think that we are waiting for mass hospitalization and even multiple deaths before we act properly. Over the past year and a half, countries have been forced to take bold, sometimes unpopular decisions, which, though absolutely necessary to protect the lives of the people, have also caused increased anxiety. The far-reaching impact of the pandemic continues to necessitate these tough decisions, and government must balance the dual objective of safeguarding the lives of the people, while at the same time protecting livelihoods. It is not practical to remain indefinitely insulated from the wider world economy, or we must jumpstart the process of economic recovery. However, in doing so, the health of the population remains our foremost concern. I have heard the view expressed that based on the low infection rate Grenada has experienced, we should close the borders and allow the people within to operate as normal. In an utopian world, that might be a possible approach, but we do not live in a perfect world. COVID-19 has created a new normal, and we have to learn to adapt and live with it. Therefore, closing borders indefinitely is not practical, as tourism, for example, is a key economic driver. This becomes even more important, sisters and brothers, as we prepare to begin welcoming St. George's University students back to the country for the start of the semester in mid-August. The presence of the students and the level of ancillary activity created by their presence not only creates direct and indirect employment for hundreds of our people, there's also significant impact on the local economy. My dear sisters and brothers all, I assure you that government's commitment to restarting the economy does not mean that we place any lesser value on the lives of the people. It simply means that we are constantly striving to maintain the delicate balance of safeguarding lives and protecting livelihoods. And we do have the benefit of a COVID-19 vaccine to provide a measure of protection for our people. Soon, we expect to have additional vaccines so that Grenadians can have a choice. The Ministry of Health will provide more details on this in the coming days, but I can confirm now that the expected shipment of this will allow younger Grenadians to be vaccinated. My friends, I have observed a very disturbing trend in recent weeks, one that can only be described as a growing culture of defiance, an increasing tendency towards lawlessness. I readily acknowledge that human beings are social creatures, and restrictions, especially over an extended period as we have done, are difficult to endure. I know, especially our young people, just want the freedom to be. I was once a boy, a long time ago, yes. But I understand that desire to be out and about and to be carefree. But times are not normal. We are in a global pandemic that has claimed the lives of more than 4 million people around the world. Our desire to live a normal life is natural, but we must remain conscious of the need to protect ourselves first and foremost. Or the reality is, we may not even be around to live normal lives we desire. This government is doing its best to protect you, and you need to be safe in a period of great uncertainty. Sisters and brothers, this is no easy period for anyone. As an elected representative for over 37 years, I can say without a measure of doubt that this has been one of the most challenging periods of my entire political life. But this isn't about me. I'm well aware that it is not easy for you, the people. It is not easy for the health professionals who operate on the front line. It is not easy for those charged with enforcing the law. It is not easy for policymakers who must establish the necessary guidelines. It is also not easy for any one of us. But as we face this formidable giant of an enemy, what we do have is the power of togetherness, the power of collective action, the power of working together towards a common goal. It has gotten us this far, and therefore we must continue to leverage it as we go forward. Our rigorous protocols and enforcement measures at the ports of entry serve as a powerful gatekeeper for detecting and isolating the virus. Except for one incident which led to limited community spread some months ago, we have managed to identify all cases at the border, which in turn allows us to continue much of our normal daily activities. But sisters and brothers, we must be mindful that the situation can change in the blink of an eye. It has happened elsewhere in the region and can quite easily happen right here in pure Grenada. Is that what we want? To see infection rates rising rapidly and uncontrollably? To be separated from our loved ones because being close puts them at risk of getting sick? To be placed on a ventilator because we can no longer breathe on our own? To see our medical facilities completely overwhelmed because there is insufficient equipment and personnel to treat those in need? I ask. That cannot be our vision for the future. But if the situation materializes here, the healthcare team will be forced to choose who lives and who dies. It is not right or fair to place anyone in such serious predicament. We are at a critical juncture, and we must seek to safeguard our coveted status. Going forward, there will be some changes to how we operate to ensure greater cohesiveness and collaboration between COVID-19 Committee and the Royal Grenada Police Force, particularly as it relates to the permission granted to event organizers and promoters. The COVID-19 Committee was set up as an advisory body to government and also has joint responsibility for granting permission for what should be carefully considered exceptions to the regulations. This system has worked well for a long time, but there now seems to be a breakdown of authority. Government must therefore reassert its position that protecting the lives of our people is its primary responsibility, while at the same time facilitating some balance with social and economic activities. Just this afternoon, I met with senior officers of the Royal Grenada Police Force to discuss how we can effectively bolster enforcement procedures and ensure greater compliance with the COVID-19 regulations. I have made it emphatically clear that there should be no semblance of preferential treatment or status afforded to anyone. We all must be treated alike. From the south of the island to northern tip of the country, and including the sister islands of Carriacou and Petit-Martinique, the rules that we set are to be applied equally across the board. Application for activities that fall outside the scope of the regulations must be fairly considered, and if approved, these events must be properly monitored by health wardens and the police force. From henceforth, therefore, full vaccination of all patrons and workers will be a requirement for any activity that falls outside of the numbers permitted within the COVID-19 regulations, and for which special permission has and must be sought. Enforcement is a necessary part of this process, but there is need for greater responsibility on the part of promoters and event organizers to ensure that they adhere to the stipulated requirements, and on the part of the patrons, greater demonstration of personal responsibility for your own safety. Help us to help you. Sisters and brothers, the frightening reality is that any breaches, however minor, puts us all at risk. Sisters and brothers, this government has always championed the working class. We have never wavered in our commitment to holistic, inclusive, and sustainable development. Faced with the significant economic fallout from the pandemic, we are challenged to facilitate a more enabling environment that will allow displaced persons to earn a living, while at the same time creating opportunities for those who traditionally rely on government for daily work. I am painfully aware that hundreds of our nationals are still without a source of income. That is why government is now in the advanced stages of preparation for the implementation of another COVID-19 economic stimulus package, which is intended to benefit close to 9,000 Grenadians directly, with another 10,000 to benefit indirectly. This $36 million package will be funded through the Caribbean Development Bank under the Inter-American Development Bank Caribbean Development Bank Global Loan Program, and the government of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. This support program is expected to be rolled out in September 2021. This stimulus package will target vulnerable persons who are most impacted by the pandemic and will include, but not limited to, persons in the cultural sector whose livelihood depends almost exclusively on cultural activities. It also will include farmers, agro-processors, caterers, operators of entertainment centers, former cruise ship workers, taxi drivers, water taxi operators, tourist vendors, bus operators, former hotel employees, and liet workers, among others. Beneficiaries will receive support ranging from one-off payments to monthly transfers for up to 6 months, based on the category of eligibility. Government was very diligent in designing this program and engaged in broad-based consultation with stakeholders in the public and private sectors, as well as the CDB, to ensure the widest possible reach for the stimulus support package. Further details of the package and the categories of beneficiaries will be shared by the Ministry of Finance in the coming weeks. This new program, Sisters and Brothers of Support, is in addition to other measures already taken by government to stimulate job creation and economic activity. Cabinet recently approved several initiatives to support the expansion of existing micro, small, and medium enterprises and the creation of new ones. More than $12 million is currently available for lending on extremely concessional terms and conditions. Additionally, government will make available $2 million for small hoteliers and $5 million for small businesses in other sectors through the COVID-19 Support Fund facility at the Grenada Development Bank. Eligible businesses will qualify for loans between $40,000 and $300,000, respectively. The facility provides what can be considered a lifeline for the next 3 years to the eligible businesses, enabling them to stay afloat and or expand, or to encourage startups. Government would also inject an additional $5 million into the Small Business Development Fund to support the development of micro-enterprises. These businesses can qualify for loans of up to $40,000. Both lines of credit at the Grenada Development Bank, and it offers an attractive interest rate of just 1%, with a grace period of up to 3 years. The loans for micro-enterprises are repayable over 10 years, while the repayment period for the larger loans is 12 years. As an additional incentive, loan recipients in both categories can benefit from additional $5,000 in grant support to further bolster business operations if they qualify. Sisters and brothers, this is your government at work, creating opportunities and empowering our people. Clearly, we are committed to creating an enabling environment that fuels citizen-centric growth. I am therefore confident that the funding facilities at GDB will help to boost economic activity and create hundreds of new jobs. My friends, in addition to incentivizing small business development, government also continues to work on stimulating direct job creation. Since the start of the pandemic, some of our workers who are routinely employed by government have not had the opportunity to earn a single day's pay. It is not easy to see your people hurting, especially the poorest among us, and you feel powerless to help. Therefore, as a government for and of the people, we continue to work to ensure that we help as many people as possible. Government has therefore just embarked on a massive debushing program to which just over $14 million has been allocated. And therefore, over the next 10 fortnights, close to Christmas time, up to Christmas time, more than 3,000 Grenadians will be dispatched to assigned areas across the country to trim overhanging branches and clear roadsides and drains. These workers will be divided into 7-member crews, which will be monitored by a group of over 128 supervisors, each of whom will be assigned 3 crews. I assure you, sisters and brothers, this isn't a political ploy. There will be fairness in the distribution of the work among the people. This is our commitment. I have made it clear to party supporters that this is not a party program. This is implemented by the government of Grenada for the benefit of all eligible persons, regardless of the political, religious, or other affiliation. I have gone a step further and authorized the creation of a hotline where reports can be made in the event that the true intention of the program is not being followed. If you are aware of instances where fairness is compromised, I encourage you to call 417-6643 to make your report. The issue will be examined, and if proven to be legitimate, the necessary remedial action will be taken. Sisters and brothers, this is not a time for party politics. This is a time for all of us as Grenadians, as custodians of this beautiful country of ours, to work together for the benefit of all. No one citizen has a greater right than any other. What we do have is a collective responsibility to make the right decisions now that will create a legacy for future generations of this country. In this long and enduring partnership, government continues to fulfill its obligations to the hard-working people of this country, including public officers. We have committed to begin paying the 4% salary increases to public officers by the end of August 2021. The increase will be reflected in the monthly salaries, therefore, from the end of that period. You will recall that the increase became due in January of this year, but due to the economic fallout from the pandemic, government had requested a delay. It means, therefore, that there is a 7-month period for which public officers are owed increases, and government therefore will issue a 1-year bond payments for the amount owed. We acknowledge the agreement of police officers and security forces thus far, and assure you that the payments will be processed with the August payroll. Public officers, many of you have been patient, and I commend you for that and your continued service to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Many are also concerned about the pension disqualification issue. As you all are aware, this matter is currently before the courts, and government will accept and respect whatever judgment is delivered. It is important to remember this government is not responsible for the pension disqualification. The issue has existed for many years, and successive governments, including our own, failed to address it in the past. Acting on a deep sense of moral responsibility, this administration agreed to tackle the issue of pension reform. A bold move, and one that is cost prohibitive, but also one that we feel is in the best interests of our long-serving and dedicated public officers. There are many issues that threaten to divide us and distract us from forging ahead with the development agenda. But in closing, sisters and brothers, I'm compelled to encourage us all to continue to work hand in hand for the advancement of our beautiful land. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic is a predominant challenge that confronts us daily, and we have been successful so far in this war on this dreaded disease. Let us keep fighting that common enemy instead of fighting against each other. We didn't come this far in this battle by undermining the one advantage we have, that of presenting a united effort. God forbid, if there is an outbreak of COVID-19 in Grenada, the virus will not single out specific persons, NNP or NDC. Every one of us will be a potential victim. Therefore, adopting a united front will improve our chances of continuing to be successful in this war. Yes, we are weary, but the battle is far from over. And therefore we must carry on together. The COVID-19 protocols have been established for our benefit. Compliance is key. Let us all cooperate. Sisters and brothers, I thank you. I thank you for your understanding and patience throughout this entire ordeal so far that has engulfed the entire world. I thank you for working with your elected representatives to keep this country safe. I thank you for the many sacrifices you have made and continue to make every day. I thank you also for being responsible citizens, and I encourage those who have not been to follow the example of others. I also want to thank you for your patriotism, your love for this beautiful country of ours. I thank you also for loving and respecting your fellow men and women. And I thank you in anticipation of your continued cooperation in protecting the lives of every single person. I thank you.
The proceeding was an address to the nation by Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell.